want to get this question over with. All you're doing is forever. Quick question. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I've only got 30 seconds. The Prime Minister.
The unthinkable has just happened inside the House of Commons. Prime Minister's questions, usually a loud, theatrical, but tightly choreographed piece of political performance art, suddenly spiralled into something far more dangerous. The chamber didn't just argue, it erupted. And at the centre of the chaos stood Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, facing off against Prime Minister Keir Starmer in a clash that left Westminster stunned and the Speaker's throat raw. What began as a routine PMQs exchange turned into one of the most explosive moments Parliament has witnessed in years. The atmosphere was already thick with tension before Farage even rose to his feet. Murmurs rippled across the green benches. MPs leaned forward like they were watching a title fight, and the Speaker braced himself. Everyone sensed a storm was coming, but nobody expected the total atmospheric collapse we just witnessed. Quick favour, if you care about what is really happening in British politics behind the headlines and beyond the spin, then please take just 1 second to hit that subscribe button and click the notifications bell icon. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet, and honestly, that is more shocking than a politician keeping a manifesto pledge. It is completely free, it takes a second, and it helps us keep bringing you the hard-hitting stories that matter. Thank you if you did. Now back to the show. Nigel Farage rose visibly fired up, clutching his notes like a man about to drop a tactical nuke. He barely had 30 seconds, no long speech, no rambling preamble, just a direct hit. He reminded the House that the Prime Minister had repeatedly promised to close migrant hotels by the end of this Parliament. But then came the bombshell that turned the room cold. Farage revealed that the reform-led West Northamptonshire Council is preparing to issue foreclosure notices on 3 migrant hotels, the Ibis in Crick, the Holiday Inn in Flor, and the MK Hotel in Deanshanger. Not next year, not in due course, but within days. His justification was blunt and incendiary. Grave public concern about the safety of women and girls on local streets. Gasps echoed across the chamber because this wasn't just more campaign rhetoric. This was action. Real councils, real notices, real consequences. Farage leaned in and delivered the killer question straight to the Prime Minister. Would the Prime Minister approve of us speeding up the closure of the migrant hotels? For a split second, the Commons fell silent, the kind of silence you only get right before a building falls down. Then Keir Starmer stood up. His response wasn't calm, it wasn't measured, and it certainly wasn't the lawyerly precision we were promised. It was defensive, and it changed everything. Starmer insisted the government would grip the mess it had inherited and close every hotel. But instead of addressing the Northamptonshire proposal head-on, he pivoted sharply. His tone hardened, his language sharpened, and he went for the jugular.
Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I've only got 30 seconds. The Prime Minister has stated very clearly that he wants to close the migrant hotels by the end of this Parliament. Well, the reform-led West Northamptonshire Council, brilliantly led council, will be issuing foreclosure notices on 3 migrant hotels within the next few days in response to grave public concern about the safety of women and girls on the streets of West Northamptonshire. Would the Prime Minister approve of us speeding up the closure of the migrant hotels?
He accused Farage of failing to condemn comments about children in care, and then came the line that detonated the chamber. Starmer accused Reform UK of racism, implying that Farage's party harboured views that were beyond the pale. The reaction was instant. Shouting erupted from all sides. Reform MPs exploded in fury. Labour MPs roared in support, and the Speaker leapt to his feet like a man trying to stop a riot with a plastic whistle. This was no longer a policy debate about planning permissions. It was personal, raw, and completely unfiltered. Farage shouted back across the floor, visibly livid, accusing the Prime Minister of being spineless and hiding behind smears instead of confronting the reality, playing out in towns across Britain. In that moment, something fundamental cracked. This wasn't just about migrant hotels, and it wasn't even just about Reform versus Labour. This was about authority and who still has it. As the noise finally subsided, it was clear that Keir Starmer had picked a fight he may not be able to win. When the Speaker finally dragged the Commons back from the brink, the damage was already done. PMQs ended, but the real crisis was only beginning. As MPs spilled out into the corridors of Westminster, the atmosphere turned poisonous. Shouting matches broke out near the committee rooms, and advisers were seen rushing to their phones. Whips moved fast, trying to contain what many inside Labour were already calling a catastrophic misstep. Starmer's decision to label the third largest party by vote share as racist on the floor of the House sent shockwaves through Parliament. Multiple Labour MPs, speaking anonymously, admitted they were stunned by Starmer's approach. One backbencher described the moment as reckless, while another called it a gift to reform. They feared Starmer had walked straight into Farage's trap, turning a debate on a policy failure into a culture war confrontation, terrain where reform thrives. Worse still for the government, the policy bombshell Farage dropped couldn't be ignored. Local councils issuing foreclosure notices on migrant hotels is not a theoretical exercise, it is actionable. Legal teams inside the Home Office were reportedly scrambling to assess whether reform-led councils could actually carry it out. If they do, the panic reaches Downing Street fast. Emergency meetings were convened by early afternoon, with senior advisers warning that if councils begin forcing closures, the government could lose control of asylum accommodation overnight.
Mr. Speaker, we will correct the mess we inherited and close every hotel. But he says he doesn't have time to condemn the comments calling children in care evil. He's also not had the time, it appears, to condemn the racist comments of his own MP. Utterly spineless.
Hotels would shut, migrants would be displaced, and the headlines would explode, and all of it would happen on Starmer's watch. Meanwhile, the Speaker was furious. Sir Lindsay Hoyle was said to be deeply frustrated by how the exchange spiralled, privately warning senior MPs that language in the Commons was sliding into the gutter. For Starmer, being privately rebuked by the Speaker only added to the perception that he was losing his grip on the House. Outside Westminster, the reaction was even more brutal. Clips of the clash spread like wildfire across social media, reaching millions within hours. Comment sections erupted and hashtags trended as supporters of reform hailed Farage as the only one telling the truth, while critics accused Starmer of using labels to silence debate. Even voters with no love for Farage admitted the Prime Minister looked rattled. Polling experts quietly began warning Labour HQ that the exchange could harden opinion in key red wall and swing constituencies. In those areas, immigration and the use of local hotels remain explosive issues. By the end of the week, several other councils, not just reform-led ones, reportedly began asking legal questions about whether they too could block or challenge migrant hotel contracts. The idea was spreading like a political contagion. What started as one fiery question was turning into a national test of legitimacy and nerve. For Starmer, the danger is now clear. Every time he responds to reform with outrage instead of authority, he elevates them. Every clash makes Farage look less like a fringe voice and more like a primary challenger. The moment revealed a House on edge, a Speaker under strain, and a political system cracking under the pressure of real-world consequences. This wasn't just another noisy PMQs, it was a warning shot. Whether Keir Starmer heeds it or keeps charging headlong into confrontation may define not just his leadership, but the future balance of British politics itself. Thank you for watching the British Report.